Well, hello, everyone. Good to be in Memphis. We just got in here about 30 minutes ago now and excited for the Liberty Bowl and ready to take any questions you may have. It's good to see you.
Great, go ahead. Yeah, Coach, I'm just wondering how difficult it's been balancing all the stuff with the transfer portal, with practices, just everything just crammed together like this.
Yeah, Trey, it's been busy. Um, at the same time, I thought last year was worse. I did. I mean, I'm talking about, we weren't in a bowl. We weren't around our kids. They were home for Christmas. Um, so I've really, really enjoyed these. I think it might be eight now, eight practices that we've had with these guys. And, sometimes they're not playing on a Saturday. So you don't forget about them, but you don't learn as much about them. And I've really enjoyed that part of it. Has it been busy? Yes. I mean, very, very busy. We've signed 15, I think, portal guys and all that, and getting ready for a good Texas Tech team. I think everybody in the country is doing it to some degree, but it has been busy. And throw the hip in, just the nagging part of that. All that stuff has been difficult, but at the same time, I really like where we are right now today, be it with our football team, with the portal, our situation there, and with the game coming up. I'm pleased with what our coaching staff, our players have done to this point.
I'm curious about, I mean, I know some of the guys have signed, or most of them maybe have, just your thoughts on what you've been able to do. Maybe just expound a little bit more on that in the
Out of
portal.
the, yeah, I'm gonna move this over here, look at it a little bit because there's several here. If you look at offensively, I think we've really enhanced our team in the portal with O linemen. That was a key. We still have another one we need to get, but we've had four there. We've got a running back, Braylen Braylen Russell's. He's going to play. He's here, and so that's been back and forth there, but we're glad to have him. Three wide receivers to this point and a tight end. I still think we need to add to that tight end group and add to the offensive line. We need another tackle, I think. And then defensively, I think Deke's really done a nice job with adding 3D linemen, a couple of rush ins and an interior. And then we've added two corners, a safety and a hog. Probably need to get another safety and possibly another corner out of the portal. I still think, Trey, that we're still probably somewhere between 4 and 6 additions out of the portal, and we'll take our time there. Um, um, we have done pretty well coming out of the portal in April. We've hit in the April portal as well. So I do want to save a scholarship or two, but as you well know, the portal opens, so people are going to leave. So I don't want to save too many because I think obviously if someone's not playing at the end of spring ball, we'll probably have a scholarship available to go in the portal.
Hutch.
Yeah, Sam, you brought up Braylen there. I'm curious, how many of those eight practices has he been at, and do you anticipate him being available for the bowl game?
I think he's been to over half of them. So he's ready to go. He's obviously practiced Sunday and practiced today. Practice I think twice. So he may have been about four of them to this point. He's in good shape. So uh, he's looked good in practice. Rodney and Tyrell both have looked good in practice as well. So I think he's ready to go, Hutch.
And can you give us maybe some insight on that whole situation? I mean, he goes into the portal and withdraws twice, and he took another visit to another school. I mean, can you give us shed some light on kind of how that all went down?
Well, I can give you a coach's answer on it a little bit. We talked him out of he went in the portal, and I called him in, talked to him, and he decided not to go in the portal. And then I don't know the reason of going back in. And then he texted me and said, Coach, I'd like to talk to you. And that was after the second time he had went in the portal. And obviously we had an agreement there about, because the look wasn't good on him nor me or the program. And if we were going to have him back, we want to make sure that it was the last and final time. And I felt good about that. He felt good about that. So that's kind of what happened.
Another quick one before I turn it back. I want to ask about a couple of wide receivers. I saw where Tyrone Broden, I guess, was back at practice yesterday. Do you anticipate him being full go? And then also, do you think Jordan Anthony will be available at all for this bowl game?
Jordan Anthony will not. He's got some family issues at home that are very serious, that he needs to be home and taking care of that. Broden, he'll be available. Broden's had some personal issues as well that we knew about. And so he's been back for the last couple of practices, and so he'll be available.
Jackson.
Sam, you mentioned the 4 offensive linemen you brought in. Most of those guys are tackles. Is there anyone immediately that comes to mind that you might shift inside, or is it going to be a spring assessment, or are all 4 of those guys going to, or 3, however many, going to stay at tackle?
Well, I appreciate it, Jackson. I think the old philosophy, which was mine, was to get big, and if they didn't have quite the feet or the space, couldn't handle space, you move them into guard. That's a hard philosophy to move into center. Obviously, we've got the one young man that started at center this year that's coming in to the pro. So we have 3 basic tackles. Well, 2 of them's got to play tackle. They're huge. The other one could be a guard tackle, and then we've got a center. We have availability on our offensive line to move some guys around and move them inside. We have some guys that can play center that's been playing outside. We'll just have to look to get our 5 best on the field at the same time. But I do like the guys that we went out in the portal and have signed to this point. I think they'll help us. Our next one could be another big tackle, could be another guy that can snap the football.
You might not know the answer to this because I think it's just happening today with all the JUCO stuff going on and players getting an extra year. Does that apply to him? Because he did
Well, I
spend.
hope so.
Okay.
I certainly have talked to him. I'd love to have him back. I've already talked to him about that. And as a matter of fact, I got a call on the bus. We were just outside. We were in West Memphis, and they told me that the NCAA's passed a rule or going to that if you played your last year this year and you played in junior college, that you'll have availability to play next year, just so the lawsuits won't be abundant, and they'll just pass the rule. If that's the case, June College will be one of the first guys I go to. He's a great kid, and I think he's a really good player. He just was hurt most of this season.
And one more from me. Does your recruiting roster assembling strategy change at all with the 105 player limit? Like, do you have to recruit more linemen for practice? I mean, is there anything specific that changes in your outlook for building a roster that way?
Yeah, you're just down 20 guys, you're down 15 guys, excuse me. And so basically your skill guys would be the ones that get cut a little bit. You'll lose a few numbers at wide receiver, lose, and the legs will be a concern in that. DBs, you'll lose a few there, but I do not want to lose offensive and defensive linemen. You just can't function that way. So you may be down a linebacker or 2, basically the skill guys, but I don't want to lose the bigs at all. So we've made a statement that we're not going to do that. We're going to we've been under on the O-line, and we're trying to make that up now.
Christina. Yeah, Coach, with Braylen, are you worried at all that any other players in the future will think it's okay to kind of jump in and out of the portal, given that he was able to come back? And is there any kind of, consequence to prevent that?
Well, I don't think, the consequence is you either say, okay, you left the right way. We think you can help our program. What was the reason you left? And if I'm okay with that, then we'll let them back. If it's other reasons, you left, you didn't come talk to me, you didn't, you know, said some derogatory things about, the program or your teammates or anything like that, well, then we won't let them back. I was a hard stand on if you go in the portal, you'll never be back. But I'll be honest with you, the kids now, the money is so different that I think the kids a lot of times they'll go in just to see, what the money's really like. I'm not for sure if their agents are telling them the truth about what other programs can do for them. But this one with Braylen was fairly simple to me because I do think that he loves the Hogs, and I do think there were some outside noises to him. Uh, I always felt like he wanted to stay and be a Hog, and certainly I think each one of them is kind of individual, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and then Selman Bridges withdrew right after the last time we talked to you last week. So I'm guessing that means he left the right way. And is, how important it is to you to have had him back since he seems like a pretty promising young guy.
Well, he just came to me and said he'd like to come back, and I don't know how long he was in the portal, maybe a couple days. It wasn't long, and just would like to be on the team. We'd like to have him. So, again, um, I think it's just an individual case by case. There's some kids that have went in that maybe want to come back that we say, no, we're going to move on, but maybe it's the history of that particular young man and we just move on.
Last year, I remember you saying that a lot of the transfers you were bringing in at this time of year were guys you were expecting to be contributors right away. Is that the same case with the class you're bringing in now, or will any of these be more development guys as far as you expect?
I think the majority of the guys that we're bringing in, we're counting on them to play. They have to earn every bit of that, but we're certainly recruiting them to come in and play immediately. Now they got to beat out whomever's on the team, but there are a few of them that are younger that we feel like we can develop where we need numbers as well. But each and every one of them have an opportunity to play, and we feel like every guy that we've taken, besides just a very, very small amount, has shown us they can play in the college level and play at a high rate. Or obviously we wouldn't, have went after them.
All right, wrap us up.
Yeah, same with all the guys that are gone. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for guys in this bowl game. I'm curious, in the 8 practices, has anybody maybe stood out to you or surprised you? Maybe somebody that we haven't seen a whole lot of this year?
Well, if I'm thinking defensively, Quincy Rhodes has really stood out. I think he's had a good camp. Charlie Collins is another guy that we haven't seen much that's done really well. Jaden Allen has come back and looked good. Switzer come back. He wasn't healthy. Offensively, I go to Brooks Edmondson and Kobe Branham. Those are 2 guys that we thought were good players, but as we're seeing them, feel very comfortable with those guys in there and ready to go. More importantly, their team does. Cross Johnson at wide receiver, C.J. Brown at wide receiver. Those 2 guys have stuck. I'll tell you a guy that we moved, the wide receiver that was playing tight end that's looked really good is Shamar Easter. We moved him out to wide out, and he's done some good things. So just quickly off the top of my head, those are some guys that and Rodney Hill and Tyrell Reed. They've looked good at running back. And of course, Maddox Lassiter is continue to improve all the time. So those are just some guys off the top of my head.
And then a more big picture question for you with the 105-man limit, and then I guess the SEC is sticking to 85 scholarships. You had said that you're able to split up scholarships. Or do you anticipate splitting up any scholarships for next season, or do you plan on 85 full scholarships?
Yes, we certainly will, and in that we'll have some advantage, with some of our Arkansas kids who were good students. You can still give them a full ride, but you can take some of that money if they get 80% or 90% of their tuition waived. That will help, and so that would be more of how we would split them up. Would be more academic money that can save us some money and give a third of a scholarship, a half a scholarship, whatever, and maybe add a few more guys that have partial scholarships.
Last one, Jackson.
Yes, Sam, just wanted a status of the hip. How are you? What's how close are you to full health? No longer on the SEC availability reports.
Man, well, I can walk without a cane about 20 yards maybe. I'm going to have it on the sideline. Just, I don't know, maybe it's a security blanket. Maybe I need it. I don't know, but I'm sleeping a lot better. And if I knew then what I knew now, 20 days after the total hip, I probably would have went ahead and just bit the bullet late June when I found out and would have been able to be more active during the season. But I feel like I'm getting there, and I appreciate you asking the question.
All right, quick reminder, we do have a football game in 4 days, just to remind everybody.
Liberty Bowl.
Appreciate it, everybody. Thanks, Coach.